thought this was really timely to get some information from Jarrah to help inform our thinking as a group as we move into this AgTech for Decarbonisation program. So thank you, Jarrah, for joining us. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks, Jen, and thank you for having me along at today's meeting. So I lead the Decarbonisation and Diversification portfolio within Greater Whitsunday Alliance. And one of the major projects that we deliver is the Decarbonisation Accelerated project. And that project is really about understanding how will decarbonisation change the way that we do business and operate our sectors within the region, and what do we need to do to prepare and be proactive around those changes. But it's also about understanding the opportunities that will be driven by decarbonisation, because what we know is that with our high level of technical skills that exist within the region, as well as our great problem solving skills that come through our businesses because of their interactions with agriculture and mining, and being able to solve some complex problems for those sectors, the skills and capabilities and expertise that we have here in our region actually align really well to a lot of the new sectors that are being driven by decarbonisation. So Decarbonisation Accelerated is about preparing businesses for decarbonisation, but it's also about really linking in and understanding those opportunities and pursuing new revenue streams for our region. The first phase of Decarbonisation Accelerated was funded up until June 2025. And within that first phase, we've been very focused on supporting METS businesses on this decarbonisation journey. But that's not to say that a lot of the activities that we've delivered have really been relevant to all sectors across the region. And as we go into the planning phase beyond 2025, I suspect that our scope and focus is going to be much broader than just METS businesses moving forward. So that's all I'm going to say about the project itself. What I wanted to talk to you about today is the role of technology in decarbonisation, and to go into a bit of a deep dive around that. So our vision is to position the Greater Whitsunday region as forward-thinking leaders as decarbonisation influences change across the economy. We want our businesses and sectors to thrive by contributing to emissions reduction goals and reporting, capitalising on emerging opportunities, and securing a future that supports our traditional industries while also embracing new sectors driven by decarbonisation. Technology is going to be really crucial for driving the change at the scale that is required for the world to be able to reach the decarbonisation goals that are currently on the table, particularly that net zero goal. From industrial processes to daily business practices, technology enables emissions reductions that were previously unattainable. There are still technologies that will need to be further developed, technologies that don't exist yet, to really drive down some of those emissions that are much harder to do at the moment. So things like heavy industry emissions, long distance transport, and agricultural emissions such as livestock emissions, fertilizers, and soil management. So lots of new technologies coming online that can help us in reducing our emissions and telling our decarbonisation story now, but also a lot more technologies that need to be developed to help the globe reach their goals around decarbonisation. Advanced technologies can increase efficiencies across sectors such as improving energy, water, and material efficiencies. This will create climate benefits as well as enhance productivity. Technology will help us to monitor and measure emissions so that as reporting expectations increase, we're able to demonstrate where we started on the journey and where we've come to. As decarbonisation progresses and climate change starts to impact, technology will help us to counteract the climate change impacts around, flooding and changed weather events and things like that. And technology will also enable the increased adoption of sustainability and circular economy practices, which will reduce emissions, but also help us to be more efficient in the way that we use materials and lessen the need for us to extract materials from the earth. So we, when we were planning out the decarbonisation project, we really saw the importance and the role of technology and the role that technology played in helping businesses to decarbonise. So it's always been a strong focus for us. It's been a focus around how do we support businesses to adopt technologies to help them with their emissions goals, but also how do we share the opportunities that exist around technology and encourage businesses to think about what they're already really good at and how they could apply that in a climate or decarbonisation type setting. So we've always had a focus around technology adoption and technology advancement. In October 2023, we had the opportunity to partner with a company called Climate Salad, who are really a networking and accelerator focused on climate technology. So they really look at that innovation space and trying to nurture and grow climate technology across Australia, or decarbonisation technology, whichever way you refer to it. And they do a lot of events to kind of bring people together and talk about the role of technology in decarbonisation and how businesses can link into that innovation ecosystem and progress opportunities around innovation. So this event was also sponsored by the Queensland Government, by the Office of the Chief Entrepreneur, and it attracted, this was very early on, we'd only started in July, so it was one of our first major events, and it really attracted over 60 people from businesses and agency stakeholders to come along and have a discussion around what is decarbonisation technology, what role does it play, and why is it important for businesses to be thinking about adopting these technologies and developing these technologies. So the event, we had expert speakers present at the event. We delivered a decarbonisation technology showcase and provided opportunities for businesses who have either developed or are delivering services or products around decarbonisation to come along and talk about what their products are and why they felt that going down the path of decarbonisation technologies was important. And we also had local context discussions about what does this mean for our region. We also embed technology and decarbonisation technology as a key stream across a lot of our key activities. So we ran a summit in May this year, where climate technology was one of our breakout streams, and we talked about, the competitive advantage of aligning businesses to deliver products and services in decarbonisation, and the way that the technologies that are kind of being rolled out across the country, as well as the way that technologies can support businesses. We talk about technology in our workshops around scope 1, 2 and 3 emissions and how they can help businesses to track where they are on that decarbonisation journey. We promote decarbonisation technology in our newsletters. So it's really embedded across our program, and we've become very good at promoting the need for decarbonisation technologies. But what we now really need to focus on, and I think this is where the decarb for ag comes into play, is how do we actually translate the interest and the information into action within businesses. Earlier this year, we delivered a benchmarking survey that establishes a baseline for the level of knowledge and motivation that Greater Whitsunday businesses have regarding decarbonisation. Again, very targeted at the MET sector. So most of these responses come from the MET sector. We had 106 businesses participate in the survey. And a couple of key findings that I've got displayed here on the slide. 60% of respondents indicated decarbonisation will be fairly or very important for their business in the future. 16% of respondents currently measure their carbon emissions, which is a really critical step in being able to demonstrate where you are on the decarbonisation journey and how much progress you've been able to make. So being able to measure is the critical first step for businesses. 29% of respondents stated a lack of resources or expertise as the reason why they don't track their emissions. 49% of businesses have implemented carbon emissions reduction activities, and 44% identify a lack of resources and knowledge as the reason why they have not implemented carbon reduction activities. So what this data tells us is that businesses recognise that decarbonisation is going to change the way that they do business, and they're interested in starting actions. But the fact that only 16% of them are tracking emissions indicates that they need additional support to navigate this. And the feedback that we're getting from the survey is that that additional support needs to be the links to knowledge and resources. It was interesting to see that more businesses identified that they're implementing carbon reduction activities. And I just want to explore that a little bit more with you, or unpack that a little bit more with you. The reason that businesses are more motivated to implement carbon reduction activities rather than, starting to track their emissions, the responses that are displayed on this screen really align with the conversations that we're having with businesses, which is that businesses are willing to implement activities and adopt technologies that make good business sense. So activities, you can see here, they're really committed and focused on waste reduction, energy reduction, and renewable energy. And they're the activities that solve problems and will create cost savings for businesses. So they're happy to explore things as long as it makes good business sense. So if we're delivering programs to encourage businesses to adopt new technologies, we really have to be focused on what's in it for them. That has to remain at the forefront. It's also great that they're taking some action towards reducing their emissions, but the other question that comes up when we look at this data and the areas where they're putting their attention is, are these the areas that will have the most impact on emissions reductions and where they'll really gain traction with being able to reduce their emissions? And absolutely, energy reduction will definitely be one of them. And being able to implement renewable energy, but what are the other key areas of emissions that they're not paying attention to, where technology could play a role in helping them to start to focus on and reduce down those emissions? So the role of delivering technology adoption programs to businesses, whether they be agriculture, METS or others, is to explore technologies that will help businesses understand their current emissions profile, technologies that will help them track their emissions, technologies that will help them drive down costs and improve efficiencies while lowering emissions, and technologies that will have the most impact in helping them to reduce their emissions. So the Decarb for Ag program will focus on decarbonisation, education, knowledge sharing, capability and linkage building. It will share resources and tools on the AgTech Hub and explore opportunities to attract investment, talent and collaboration. As I mentioned, Decarbonisation Accelerated has done a really good job of socialising the role of technology in decarbonisation, but we're really excited to be able to work closely with the Decarb for Ag project to start to gain some traction in helping businesses to adopt those technologies that are most needed to help them meet their emissions targets and goals and reporting requirements. So we're happy to provide, to work in partnership with the project and provide links to resources and to leverage our own expertise, but we're also excited to be able to leverage your expertise in helping us to support a broader business base to be able to adopt more technology. So I really see us working very closely together around these two projects in the future to kind of lean in on where we each hold areas of expertise in being able to support businesses to adopt and develop technology around decarbonisation.